Hello and welcome back to the channel. Please like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. The Kashmir Princess was so much fun to put together, I thought we'd continue with aviation conspiracies, such as Aero Air Flight 1285R. The mere mention of which sends a shiver down my spine. It was a cold December morning when the tragedy occurred. The plane, a chartered DC-8 carrying 248 soldiers, largely from the 101st Airborne Division, was on its way back to the United States from a peacekeeping mission in the Sinai Peninsula. As the plane taxied down the runway at Gander International Airport in Newfoundland, Canada, everything seemed normal. The engines roared to life, and the plane lifted off into the sky. But just minutes later, disaster struck. Witnesses on the ground reported seeing flames shooting out of the engines as the plane struggled to gain altitude, and then, in a split second, it all came crashing down. Literally. The DC-8 stalled, fell out of the air, crashed, and burned about a half-mile from the runway. The impact was devastating. The plane broke apart upon hitting the ground, sending debris flying in all directions. The wreckage was scattered over a wide area, making it difficult for rescue crews to reach the scene. In the end, there were no survivors. 248 passengers and 8 crew members died, 256 souls lost in an instant. This remains, as of 2024, the deadliest aviation incident on Canadian soil, and the second deadliest behind the Nigeria Airways Flight 2120, almost 6 years later. Let's hope it stays that way for a very long time. In the days and weeks that followed, investigators scrambled to piece together what had happened. What caused the stall? Uncontrolled engine failure, wings iced up, overloaded, sabotage, missile strike. As the families of the victims mourned their loved ones, rumors began to swirl. Some claimed that the plane had been sabotaged, while others pointed to a possible missile strike. The Canadian Aviation Safety Board concluded that the most likely cause of the crash was high drag and reduced lift due to ice contamination on the leading edges and upper surfaces of the wings, in addition to underestimated onboard weight. Underestimation of onboard weight? This one makes no sense to me. The plane landed at Newfoundland, filled up with fuel, and left with the same passengers and cargo which it departed from Cologne, West Germany. At least I didn't find any cargo changes. These were professional aircraft pilots. I seriously doubt they'd miss an elephant being loaded on the plane. Perhaps the ice that may or may not have been present on the wings and fuselage was just that heavy. In a dissenting report, it was stated the accident could have been initiated by an explosion with no known origin. One of the dissenters on Minority Report later told a U.S. congressional committee that a thin layer of ice could not bring down a DC-8. This Minority Report resulted in new deicing procedure delays, supposedly leading to the fateful crash of Air Ontario Flight 1363 in 1989 due to a thin layer of ice. Sometimes that which we vehemently believe is simply not true. This dissent and lack of change to deicing procedure resulted in the degradation of confidence in the KSB, so the Canadians replaced it with the Transportation Safety Board of Canada. Not to be confused with the NTSB, though I wouldn't put it past them to partially plagiarize the name. Can't blame them. It's a strong name. The truth behind the mysterious crash of Aero Air Flight 1285R may never be known. The investigation was plagued by inconsistencies and conflicting reports. Some witnesses claimed to have seen a bright flash in the sky just before the plane went down, while others reported hearing strange noises coming from the engines. And then there was the issue of the flight crew. Some questioned their experience and training, suggesting that they may have made critical errors in the moments leading up to the crash. But others defended the crew, pointing out that they were seasoned professionals with years of flying experience. 2 45-year-olds and a 48-year-old seem fairly well seasoned to me, likely all with 20-plus years of flying experience. Witnesses reported said the aircraft appeared to have trouble gaining altitude, even though the indicated airspeed was 172 knots. The airspeed decreased, causing the DC-8 to lose altitude increase pitch, and continue its descent. People driving on the highway reported a bright glow from the airplane before impact. The investigation revealed that there were favorable conditions for ice formation on the wings of the aircraft. The light rain and cold temperatures continued while the DC-8 was on the ground and was not de-iced prior to takeoff. This report was signed by 5 of the 9 investigation board members. Seems rather odd that they couldn't agree on something as simple as third-grade science, that water freezes at 32 degrees, 0 to almost the entirety of the rest of the world. The board could not determine the exact event sequence that resulted in the crash. They concluded the cause was a low-altitude stall, probably caused by ice contamination, and maybe the loss of thrust from the No. 4 engine combined with inappropriate takeoff reference speeds made the ice contamination worse. Reading between the lines, they seem to have concluded that the plane crashed because it failed to stay in the air. Well, thank you for that brilliant bit of insight, Casby. No wonder confidence was lost in your abilities, and you were replaced. The minority report claimed no evidence existed for ice on the wings, and guessed an in-flight fire may have started from unknown origins and brought about catastrophic system failures. More brilliant insights, even from the dissenters. Unintentional and uncontrolled fire is always a bad situation, especially in the air or at sea, and the lack of wing ice just may have been melted by the ensuing fire. At least whatever ice that was not dislodged by the crash. The Islamic Jihad organization claimed responsibility for the crash, supposedly to show they could strike Americans anywhere. The IJO also claimed responsibility for the Beirut barracks bombing that killed more than 200 Marines. The U.S. and Canadian governments dismissed this claim. What do you think? Leave a comment as to whether you think it was ice, terrorism, missile, bomb, fire, or crew incompetence. As the years passed, the memory of Aero Air Flight 1285R began to fade. The families of the victims moved on with their lives, but the pain of their loss never truly went away. For those who had been directly affected by the crash, the questions remained unanswered. To this day, the true story behind the mysterious crash of Aero Air Flight 1285R remains a topic of debate and speculation. Was it an accident caused by mechanical failure, or was there something more sinister at play? We may never know for sure. But one thing is certain. The tragedy of Aero Air Flight 1285R will never be forgotten. The lives lost that day will always be remembered, and the lessons learned from the crash will continue to shape the way we think about air travel safety. As I look back on that fateful day, I can't help but feel a sense of sadness and loss. The lives cut short, the families torn apart. It's a tragedy that will always haunt me. And as I think about the true story behind the mysterious crash of Aero Air Flight 1285R, I can't help but wonder, will we ever know the full truth? Or will it remain a mystery forever? Thank you for your support. Please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more fun conspiracy content. What other conspiracy theories would you like to see?